Alrighty, let's see if this works now. Let's see, here we go. Test 1, 2. All right, we're getting sound. Yes. Okay, let's try this again. Welcome to another episode of Brand Marks the Spot. I'm your brand buddy, and this is a show all about helping you leverage the power of branding and design in your business so you can grow, impact more people, and just start affecting change in who you want to help. So I've been having some major technical difficulties today with my streaming software. It's been a little bit frustrating, but this is the life we choose, right? So anyways, I am here. It looks like I am live finally. It's the third week in a row I've been having issues. So I think I really need to start looking at a new streaming solution because can't have, things happen, but this can't be the norm. So hopefully this is coming through, and hopefully the video will work throughout the rest of the show. So anyways, welcome again. Happy election day. I early voted last week, but it's going to be an interesting day today. No matter who you're voting for or whether you're voting or not, it's just always a very exciting day. And in today's episode, we're actually going to be talking about politics, but not actual politics, but more branding in politics and how it has evolved over time. And it's gotten to the point where you really can't have any kind of election campaign, whether it's presidential or Senate or what have you, without a brand strategy in place, because that is the norm now. And we're going to take a look at some of that and just kind of look at some examples and just have a good time while we're doing it. No stress. Let's just enjoy ourselves today. Drinking my coffee. All right. So before we get started, this show is brought to you by my Colors and Fonts workshop, and I'm going to be opening up registration here in the coming weeks. I don't know the exact day. But I want you to get on the wait list because you're going to get a 50% coupon code, 50% off coupon code if you're on the wait list to sign up. So the Nail Your Brand Colors and Fonts workshop is basically, it's a foundational workshop that you're going to sort of get your brand personality in check. And you're going to use that brand personality to discover what your brand colors and fonts are, build out your color palette and your fonts so you can have a foundational brand visuals that you'll use to grow your brand as you move forward. And what that does over time, that builds trust and credibility. It'll attract more of your ideal customers, and you'll be looked at as an authority when you have your brand visuals in place. And so that way you don't have to spin your wheels next time you're doing your next social graphic or any of that stuff. So get on the wait list at patricksesko.com/, and you will get that 50% coupon code when registration opens. So on with the show. So let's look at branding in politics. So I was born in the 70s, so I'm aging myself here, but I remember vaguely, Jimmy Carter's presidential campaign, or at least, probably my parents yelling at the TV or something like that when it came to it. But I remember Jimmy Carter being president. And so let's look at some of the old school campaign posters and designs that some of the earlier, earlier candidates had. Now, we're not going back to way early yet because, the things didn't work the way that they do today. So let's look at some of these here, and let me pull this up on screen, and boom. Now let me see if I can come on. I always mess this up. There we go. And let's swap that. There we go. Well, I may come out here, and let me see. Well, I tell you, I'm having a hard time with this software. All right. There we go. Let me see with that. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Yeah, it goes back to that every time. All right. This is a lot of fun, isn't it? All right. So I'll just stop this video. So, political branding of the past. Let's go back to Dwight Eisenhower. You can see it's like vote Republican. You've got the red, white, blue. You've got the image. One thing he did have was the I like Ike badge, and that was kind of a nice little slogan, if you will, tagline or what have you. And in a lot of these, obviously, these you'll see a lot of red, white, and blue. You know, the American colors, black and white photos of all of these candidates, and it's just pretty much their name for president, right? And that's pretty much the standard of from Eisenhower and even probably before, all the way up through Ford and Nixon. And what's interesting is that some of these guys had, their tagline. So part of when you're doing branding, even in business, but also in politics, is that you got to have a message or a slogan or something like that. Your messaging is just as important as the visuals. And some would argue that it's even more important because, many of these guys didn't have like, you know, uh, in-depth branding back then. So you can see Kennedy for president. There's no real groundbreaking design. It's pretty clean. Obviously, it's dated because we're talking 60s and 70s. But then when we get into the 70s, you start to see a change where, starting with Carter, this was a very huge departure in that he had a lot of green in his branding because the reason for that is like it stands out. Obviously, it's like, whoa, it's like pattern interrupt. He obviously ended up winning the election, and he did only serve one term. But again, the branding and his messaging was part of what helped him get elected. And then you get to Reagan, and you see pretty standard stuff again. It's a little bit more artistic with the White House, and you got the flag in the background and some cool little asymmetrical designs. And of course, you've got the Let's Make America Great Again, which obviously Donald Trump has appropriated that slogan for his campaign as well. And then you have your Bush quail. And then you start to see when you get into the Bill Clinton era where the logos started actually changing up and they were actually more campaign logos. Yeah, you had a lot of stickers and it was just type and it wasn't really designed. And then you see George W. Bush's, which, a little bit on the darker side, and the Bill Clinton's was a lighter blue with the red, sort of brighter colors. So you had all of those things. And then after George W. Bush came on, and something actually happened. Something changed in the landscape of politics. And that was when Barack Obama ran for president, and his branding campaign was out of this world. And whether you like him or not, or whether you voted for him or not, this is not a political discussion. This is just talking about the effectiveness of their branding campaigns and their messaging. And Obama's, let me see if I can come back on screen. Here we go again. I'm having videos. Oh, there we go. There we go. So Obama's campaign was it revolutionized the branding in politics, right? And now you see it, ever since he came on the scene with his logo and his messaging, his design on all of his, and we'll look at some of that here in a second. No one has ever seen anything like it in terms of the quality of the design. And obviously he had like branding agencies working on his stuff, as did others who came after him. And let's look at Obama, the actual campaign when he ran against John McCain. So you can see a pretty stark difference, right? The Obama logo sort of, you got the O, which was the O in Obama. But then you have it's like the sun rising across sort of a hill. That could even be like a farm fields. It's obviously, part of the American flag. You have some mottled color. It's not just solid color. You have some gradients in there and some lighters and darks. And even the blue is a lighter blue. And Obama's message was hope and change. And yes, we can. So all of those messages were reinforced with all of the visuals they used, right? So obviously he was the first Black president, which was historic in and of itself. And then you had, as a contrast, you had John McCain's campaign branding, which was kind of lackluster. It's very militaristic, which is obvious because, he was, military guy. He was POW, mad respect for him. But you can see the difference in the branding there. And if we go and look at their websites, Obama, I think, was really the first candidate who really had the web work in his favor, and the social media, all of that stuff. He was really his campaign was groundbreaking in that. And again, change, yes, we can, hope, all of those things were his messaging, and it was consistent all throughout. Now, McCain's, you can see his website. It's a little clunkier. It's definitely more dated than Obama's website. His messaging was, country first. His was more militaristic, obviously, because of his service. And you have the stars and the stripes in his logo there. And his, his slogan was country first. And his archetype, if you will, was the maverick. Everybody always talked about him being the maverick, right? And Obama's archetype was probably the connector, or the what's the word I'm looking for? He was like basically the connector. He was the hero, or the mentor, if you will. Both were good leaders, but you can see the difference in the visuals, right? And then, of course, with Obama and being on social media so much, there was so much more so really kind of the first time people took to the internet to create their own sort of campaign posters. This was a famous one, obviously, by Shepard Fairey, and a subsequent series that he did. You can see sort of the look and feel was all there, and there was actually some controversy with the Hope poster, where he used a photo as a reference, almost too much to the T. So there was a copyright legal battle. So just as a side note, always remember to either source your materials, get permission to use them, or pay for licensing, because it could come back and bite you in the ass. But you can see that it was a big difference. It was a big difference in the branding between McCain and Obama. And obviously we know the outcome of that, and Obama won. And he didn't win just because of branding, but I think he won because he was able to take his message and reinforce it with his visuals, and just present himself differently than his opponent. And that's kind of what we have to do in our businesses, right? We have to understand who we are, what our brand personalities are, or our brand archetypes. And we have to understand how, or who our audience is, and how our visuals are going to reinforce what our brand personality is and what our messaging is. So all of those things work together. So let's look at the next election, which was, let me pull this up here. There we go. So this was Hillary Clinton versus Trump. Now, this is actually Trump's 2020 poster there, which it's exactly the same as it was in 2016. But again, Hillary's brand identity for hers was much more thought out. It was actually done by Michael Beirut of Pentagram, which was a famous branding agency. And this is whole brand system that they created for it. And it actually got a lot of criticism at first, but I think because of its simplicity. But I always preach simplicity in design and branding is what's going to give you longevity. Obviously, she didn't win, so the brand wasn't used outside of her campaign. I guess she could continue to use that, but I think the association with her presidential campaign and her personal brand may be too close. So you probably don't want that. But then you contrast that with Trump's. There's not really much design there. It's just a standard poster with some typography on there, and you got some stars. You got the deeper red, you got the deeper blues, whereas Hillary's brighter reds, lighter blues. And you can see, let's look at their website. Both equally, I think, Trump's is obviously darker and he's got the red. Obviously, he's sort of appropriated red with his MAGA hats. We'll talk about that in a minute. And Hillary's was obviously the blue. I mean, obviously blue Democrat, red Republican. So there's that as well. So that's how they separated themselves with color. And her, I think I'll get to her messaging next. And then let's look at the sort of the logos and the designs that they used. So Hillary's logo system was really flexible. She was able to use it in a lot of different manners. Even her stage was the big H, which I didn't grab a photo of that one. But this enabled her to, if you're talking to micro audiences, obviously you see the rainbow for equal rights, and then you have others where you have little photos of a city or the farms or the mountains or family. So you're really able to expand upon those for micro audiences, or maybe you have an ad that you're doing that you can really customize. That can be good, but if it gets too expansive in terms of, if it gets too complicated, when you have too many things, then it can be diluted. And I think that's kind of what happened with hers. Now, whether or not that caused her to lose the election can be up for debate. And that, again, we're not talking politics. We're talking about branding in politics, just to be clear. Uh, so if your brand system is too complex and too complicated, it can be very difficult to follow. So I think that they probably fell into that category to some degree, rather than sticking with more than focused on more consistent visuals. So like, let me share the screen again. So, yes, it's a kind of a neat idea. And there were hundreds of these. They were all different. And then you had actually people socially make their own, which was kind of cool because you're connecting with the people again. And now Trump really, if we go back a couple of slides here, his logo is just his name with Pence's name underneath, square, keep America great, right? Whereas hers was a little bit more conceptual, but I think that might have hurt her in the long run because it was a little bit more diluted. Obviously, this Trump Pence logo here on the right, I think they ended up dumping that because of the connotation of the TP. Nobody wants to be known as TP. It's kind of a cool looking graphic, but unfortunately, I don't think that fared well for them. So they dropped it. And now let's look at their messaging, right? And this is when you have, Hillary's messaging was stronger together, messages of hope and togetherness and love. And Donald Trump's was the whole make America great again, which is, love him or hate him. It was a great way to sort of resurrect Ronald Reagan's make America great again. He sort of appropriated that. He got the red hat, which was it's become very iconic. I mean, it's even become polarizing. Even in branding, you want to actually polarize your audience. You either want them to love you or not love you, because the people who love you are the people who you're going to connect with more. You don't want to be wishy-washy. So I understand that from a branding perspective. And it's obviously worked very well for him because, he can be a very polarizing person, whether you like his policies or not. So I think that Hillary's messaging, while it was nice, it wasn't as strong. I don't think it resonated with as many people. And then, leaving all of the political personal attacks aside, obviously that had an effect on people's perceptions on the brands. But, we're just looking at messaging and visuals. And obviously the red hat has become very iconic. And I'm sure that will go down in history as one of the most effective messaging executions in branding, political branding in history, frankly. Let's come back on screen. So yeah, again, that's a pretty powerful visual, right? So branding isn't just about the visuals. It's about the messaging. It's about the slogans and what you're telling people, right? So it's making the case for why they should vote for them, whether it's like Make America Great or Stronger Together. So obviously we know how that turned out. And we'll move on to now, since today is election day, today's Let me pull my screen back up. Today, obviously it's Biden, Harris versus Trump, Pence. And as you can see, Biden's branding has been kind of pared down. It's very simple. And it's effective in its visual because you've got the E and the D sort of forming this sort of this flag shape with the stripes, red, white, and blue. He still has the lighter blue. Trump's got the darker blue still. And even the Biden Harris, obviously Biden was vice president under Obama. And so it's sort of a nod to the branding that they had, which was so successful in 2008 and 2012. So I think obviously he wants to sort of separate himself from that to some degree, but obviously they serve 2 terms, so maybe he wants to be associated with that. So I think the branding is very effective. Again, Trump obviously he's incumbent, so he already has the leverage of already having his message having been out there for 4 or 5 years from the last election. So, and he's only basically doubling down on the whole, make America great again hat and all of the things, right, that he's doing. Whether you like him or not, this is not a political discussion. This is a branding discussion. So just keep that in mind if you're commenting. So again, Biden Harris. Biden is his website. You can see it's very clean. His messaging is battle for the soul of the nation. So he's sort of obviously there's a lot of people, you're either for Trump or you're not for Trump, whether you like his policies or not. Maybe you don't like how his demeanor is or his personality is in office, whatever that is. I think Biden is trying to appeal to those who are less favorable to his opponent. And sadly, politics has gotten very, personal. I'm talking personal attacks, like the likes of which have never been seen. And I would love to see different messaging. So I do like the idea of, battling for the soul of the nation and decency. Again, policy aside. So this is Biden's website, and this is his brand guidelines. So he's got his colors, you got the different logos, and so you can really see how branding has evolved over time from the standard black and white posters with red, white, and blue on them, black and white photos, all the way down to these really elaborate brand systems, if you will. And I think that's been very effective. What I would like to see in the coming years is a sort of pullback. Yeah, I love branding and I'm into it, but I would like to see a pullback. I think sometimes some of these campaigns get so, obviously, Obama kind of set the gold standard for branding in politics, but I would like to see sort of a pullback of a little bit less focus on that and a little bit more focus on the substance of what the candidates stand for, what their policies are, because I think so much of that gets lost in the public arena. And if you really want to find out details of any of that stuff, you really have to dig into, the websites and the internet to do your research, which you should do if you're going to vote. But so many people don't. So the campaigns kind of rely upon this messaging and the branding to hopefully win your vote. So think about that when you are creating your brand, even if you're on your smaller scale audiences. And that's what I got for you today. Let me, what can you learn from these presidential branding campaigns? And I think that one of the biggest takeaways I would probably say is that messaging is very important, but messaging without branding can fall on deaf ears. And branding without messaging is just decoration, right? So when you have those two working together, that's when your visual brand and your conceptual brand, which is your messaging and your positioning, all those things working together can really, really make you stand out from your competition. It can make you really connect with your audience as long as you're authentic. And that's what I got for you guys today. Happy Election Day. Go vote or don't. It's your choice. It's your right. So you guys have a great day, and we'll see what happens at the end of the day. All right. You guys have a great week. Talk to you later. Bye.